transport costs should be low. But the transport costs cannot be low if the roads are bad. So it is all linked. It is all linked. So when you see us solving these problems will in the end influence how many factories come here, how many hotels come here, and how many jobs they will create.
I don't know how many unsuspecting Ugandans have had to suffer and how many cases have been killed. The contractor this, the contractor that, Minister number 1, the contractor had to be obeyed, Minister number 2, the contractor had to be obeyed, the contractor. Nothing is happening on the front.
Are you expecting any more money?
I don't think there is nothing.
There is nothing.
The dream of President Museveni for Uganda to have the best infrastructure ever was short-lived after disappointments from assigned persons to implement works. This forced the president to set up a team of commissioners to investigate irregularities unearthed in the Uganda National Roads Authority. The commissioners include the chair, Justice Catherine Bamgemereire, Abraham Carter, expert in procurement, Richard Mungati for surveying and mapping, Ben Okero Luwum for public service, and engineer Patrick Rusongoza. The commissioners started off their journey by inspecting works done by UNRA with the appointed personnel. The commissioners rolled off their investigation by pinning Marvin Balyaruha, former UNRA legal counsel, to explain why he approved the variation of price on Kawempe Kafuchiri and Ndongo Road without the approval of the Contracts Committee and the Office of the Solicitor General.
If that be the case, isn't it fraud that you deceive the Solicitor General that addendum will only increase the contract by 8.5, yet if you add VOP, it increases it over 50%?
Even the addendum, which I think talked about the VOP, was not clear on the calculation. But secondly, my lord, I want to retaliate. This is not my letter.
Although Marvin disagreed with the findings of the commissioners, the assistant lead counsel Mary Kamuli Kutesa made him turn pages.
So, did they actually permit, or they were cautioning that don't use this as a wrong precedent?
They were cautioning on the best day.
Read that. Is there anything which shows they approved the VOP? Read paragraph. Or decisions, paragraph 1. Read the first line. Is there any VOP approved? They gave a caution. Read here. Decisions number 1. Did they approve any VOP?
They approved addendum number 1, covering additional works.
Ms. Kutesa grilled Marvin to clearly explain what might have happened.
Now that we have finished the argument, can you tell us why that VOP was wrongly introduced without anybody's permission other than yourself and the person you signed that addendum with?
I did not introduce any VOP.
Would I be correct then to assess that you simply witnessed whatever you didn't know?
I go back to my earlier answer that the form of addendum had been cleared by Solicitor General.
The Legal Counsel of Uganda Land Board was quizzed to account for the land titles issued in forest reserves and wetlands and titles related to the same people.
So you as a lawyer don't have a suspicious frame of mind. Should I say that is the kind of lawyer you have? You do not have a suspicious frame of mind? Okay, we will pack that. Mr. Damulira, as a good lawyer, doesn't have a suspicious frame of mind.
Justice Catherine Bamgemereire asked Mr. Damulira to explain what might have gone wrong and who should pay the amount of money lost by government.
What went wrong? Mr. Damulira, tell me what went wrong. Are you trying to tell me that you sit there and wait for the poor land board full of people who are not lawyers? See them doing wrong. You see, maybe they've even been bottled. Maybe the land area committee was bottled. And you are the last person to save government money, and you just sign away because the land committee did it, because the land board did it.
My lord,
that you're a whole lawyer of your standing, you sit there and you don't question?
With respect, my lord, I'm saying
you don't question? We shall wake up one morning and Mr. Damulira will have given away the airport because the civil aviation did not inform him that there's an airport here, because on paper it was not an airport. Is that what the kind of lawyer that we are making you into?
The commission humiliated witnesses for defying the UNRA Commission orders.
So what is your problem? Are you one of those who stole some of this fuel?
No, my
So what is your problem? What is the difficulty with telling the truth?
What I mean is...
What is your difficulty? What exactly do you find? You are not the one who siphoned this fuel. You're not the one who was in Kotido and downloaded fuel in Chireka. Are you the one?
No.
Put under gunpoint to come to this commission and lie to us?
No, my lord.
Have you been paid by somebody to come and protect them?
No, my lord.
Do you value your job?
I do, my lord.
Do you actually value your job?
My lord, I do.
Do you really value your job?
My lord, I do.
Then tell us the truth. Because if you don't tell us the truth, I'm sorry, but I don't think you have a job.
In Kotido, we're actually made in different stations.
Also grilled was Senior Detective Superintendent of Police Babwetela Charles, assigned to investigate a case between UNRA and Shell to explain why the evidence regarding the findings was killed.
Like the old Land Rovers that could not turn. That if you are in Moroto and you're moving in that direction, even when there is a fuel station 10 meters away, you're only moving in that direction and you can't turn and go and actually ask. Is that how your plan was? It was so rigid that when you were in Moroto UNRA offices, you could not actually walk to the nearby Shell station, and I'm supposed to believe that that is good planning. Good planning?
It's not, my lord.
The investigation also saw some representatives of fuel distributors sweat plasma as they were quizzed over their involvement in this saga.
When you have a supply of 17 billion, you operate within the laws of Uganda, and you allowed yourself to continue this illegality of operating outside procurement processes. You have friends in UNRA. Corruption is not only on those who work for government, it also includes you.
We supplied fuel, our products were taken, there's a cost to the products. If you take my fuel, you should pay. If you request me to serve you fuel, we are here to do business, we are taxpayers.
So the one supplying all the fuel to UNRA.
The word all is not true. It's not true. Total supplied, Shell supplied, and other companies that we don't know. Therefore, to say that it's only Haredi that supplied, that's not true.
Apart from Shell Fuel Company, Haredi Petroleum Company also supplied UNRA with fuel, but did not have fuel stations up country, an aspect that left the commissioners wondering.
I did not see anybody saying thank you for supplying UNRA here. Nobody welcomed us for taking the risk, the time, the delayed payments, the pain. Nobody told us that thank you for doing what you could for UNRA under circumstances. Madam, your Lordship, you as the chairperson, you should. Because we as Haredi, yes, honestly, the inquiry, this is the problem. This way you talk about pump prices. You want your price to be cheap, but you want at the same time to delay to pay somebody whom you know is getting business money from the bank.
No. There's a point at which we stop.
Oh, I'm sorry. What I'm trying to say...
No. You don't give personal examples here. Everybody has a story.
Okay.
That is their story.
Engineer Sebanachita was tasked to explain why he applied addendums for Kafuchiri-Andongo Road and variation of price, which was against the approval of the Solicitor General.
Option number 1 above is not in line with government programs in the road sector, since indicative prices have already been known and made public.
So you compelled them to take on a particular consultant, 2 different projects, same personnel, same equipment.
I did not do...
Mr. Engineer, sir, how did you
that.
expect this miracle to happen?
I did not do that.
That you wanted to pay variation of price.
I was talking about the need for economy and to be frugal. I cannot be talking about the need for economy and at the same time talk about the need to introduce variation. of price.
The Commission asked Engineer Sebanachita to explain whether the procurement of Kampala-Entebbe-Zana Express Highway had been done.
I'll go back to my question such that we keep focused. When was the procurement for services on Entebbe Express Highway done?
I don't remember.
Was it ever done?
The Solicitor General says now it was done in error.
Which capacity did you instruct these persons to take work on Entebbe Express Highway?
After approval by the Solicitor General.
Greeting the acting executive director of UNRA during the construction of Tororo-Mbale-Soroti Road, Engineer Kaya Mukasa was pinned to explain why the contractor had mobilized inadequate equipment on site.
Tororo-Mbale Road, please read. How many were expected? How many did he have?
My Lord, according to this document, which I have to state that I'm seeing it for the first time.
That is okay. Just state what it
here
says.
It is indicated that by 15th June 2011, that the contractor had mobilized one dozer out of two dozers.
Read everything quite quickly. Just go through it.
It's indicated that out of 8 trucks, he had mobilized 7. Out of pneumatic tires, he had not mobilized. Out of the pickup double cabin,
how many?
4 out of 10. Out of bitumen distributor, 1 out of 2. Our concrete mixer, 1 out of 2. Chip spreader, 0 out of 2. And pulpit mixer, 0 out of 2.
The next road?
My Lord, here it's indicated in this document that he had mobilized 1 dozer out of 2, 1 excavator out of 2, 0 front wheel loader out of 2, 0 pneumatic tire out of 2.
Now, Mr. Kyle, those are so far 2 documents that I'm showing you which were within the jurisdiction of UNRA offices where you were working, and they were screaming out loud, equipment by the contractor is not enough. I will now take you to your minutes of when you came to site. In your site meetings and minutes, Mr. Kai, is there any one single minute where the consultant did not scream lack of equipment?
Come again, my Lord.
The Assistant Lead Counsel, Mary Kamoli Kutesa, pinned Engineer Kaya to explain why UNRA used money allocated for construction of roads to go for trainings abroad.
Read.
It says allow. No, my Lord. This document is doctored. I have the right document here.
Mr. Kaya, these documents came from UNRA and this commission has not engaged in any form of doctoring. My Lord, I pray that that is taken very seriously. Mr. Kaya,
I take it very
can
serious.
you listen? If that document was doctored in UNRA.
Yes, sir, madam.
You will have time to respond. I asked you to read.
This document...
Mr. Kaya, are you the one who came up with this document?
No, my Lord.
How come you had the soft copy?
The soft copy?
Yes.
The consultant.
The consultant.
Yes.
The consultant gave you the soft copy.
Yes.
Very good. I will not rely on the soft copy.
And
Mr. Kaya, are you saying this document also is false? You didn't take $14,000 from PEC?
My Lord, the money that was spent for training is from reimbursables, not from miscellaneous expenses.
Whatever name you want to call it, did you go paid by PEC to train in the US for 2 weeks at $14,000 US? Yes or no?
Which city did you go to?
Florida, my Lord.
Florida.
Yes, my Lord.
Close to the city.
Engineer Kaya explained to the Commission how the commencement date was violated by DOT services.
No.
Site meetings are important for project progress. This is the second one, you're not there. What are the complaints? Equipment. Read 2.4.
The contractor tabled a list of his equipment on site. He had not he had not mobilized the new equipment to site during the month.
Engineer Kaya was informed that the World Bank is in the process of reconstructing the road due to the shoddy work done.
Forget seals, forget your understanding of everything that's going on. What was difficult, and I'm talking about human factors, maybe whatever factors that are going on. Why couldn't you face this contractor and tell him to just do the right thing? Why couldn't you face him? Why was it easy for you to beat upon the consultant and forget the guy who is actually constructing the road?
It wasn't like that, my lord.
It was like that, and you tell us why. Because maybe there's a reason and they're going to crucify you when there is a different reason.
The powers of the SSGM were trimmed.
I would have refused that job. Because you take over so that you can make things easy. And all this you're doing, this is the kind of case that should have gone to the Equal Opportunities Commission. Because all you were doing is discriminating a person for standing up for what he believes is right. And you better come clean on this, my dear.
It is very true.
It doesn't look good.
The Commission also interfaced with the executives of DOT services to explain why they accepted the payment of prolongation cost.
It has come to us that DOT services probably has a godfather in Uganda here that is pushing things. Because we understand that, I don't want to name names, and you don't even need to name names. Understand that whenever things get stuck with the DOT services, the telephone call can just come from somebody, some people who are very influential in Uganda here, to staff in UNRWA or those consultants.
I want to state here, DOT Services is one of the biggest resource company in East Africa.
The witness cannot go on and on telling stories that are not relevant to the question asked.
The Commission has learnt that DOT services did not have registered engineers, refused to follow the consultant's advice, and lacked capacity.
Very special to be paid a large part, 80% of the contract, 70% of the contract in foreign currency.
Thank you. Such projects, especially roads as well. The components which constitute the permanent works or even to carry out these works like machinery, spare parts, wear parts, and bitumen, steel, cement. Most of the materials, either they're imported or import-induced.
The Commission interfaced with Florence Namulinda from Shell, who was responsible for issuing fuel cards to UNRWA, to explain irregularities uncovered.
Are these both pins with the same person?
Yes.
Or both the access pin and the driver pin are with the same card of the UNRWA person?
UNRWA did not have driver pin. UNRWA only had access pin.
Who would have had the driver pin?
Have you, at any one point, had questions to your subcontractor whether he actually did not issue duplicate cards, given that he's the one issuing the cards, is the one holding the pin? Because I think as a sense of control, maybe you should have been Shell people to issue the pin, but you left everything to one subcontractor with 2 employees. How sure are you that you did not allow them to issue more than one card?
By the time the cards are delivered to Vivo Energy, each card has an assigned number, which we call the card number.
The Commission grilled the former Works and Transport Minister, Engineer Abraham James Byandala, and was asked to explain why he recommended for the reduction of Tororo-Mbale-Soroti Road from 9 to 6 meters.
The DOT had taken you on site to give this instruction because UNRWA and the executives of UNRWA were insisting the road had to be 9.3. The consultant GIB was insisting the road had to be 9.3. You have mentioned in your earlier statement that you were interested in these 2 persons, UNRWA and the consultant. Now their view was it should be 9.3. Where were you getting the 6-meter carriageway?
For council to see that me, Diana Abraham James, I can be taken around directed by Dot. Me, minister, and Dot is pushing me around.
If it is not true, you say it is not
true.
No.
I have to say, but it's unfair. That engineer Abraham James General was there being directed by Dot, do this, do this. It is totally unfair. You can see the people who are in the charge, contractor and consultant, they are not agreeing. How can you put that to a minister who doesn't have even these documents?
You see, if you're a minister, if someone takes you to a site and you become part of a site meeting and you don't have the correct documents, then someone is to blame in your department. So who should that be?
No,
we need to get this clear, because yes, the contractor and the consultant are fighting. You have become the arbiter. But you must have gone there with knowledge or with at least sufficient information to make a decision. Who was supposed to give you the right information?
On Kawempe Kafu Road, the acting managing director, by then Engineer Bernardo Sebuga Chimeze, was asked to explain why it was necessary to reconstruct the road, which was under a defects liability period.
For 10 years, children who have been born have lived on the construction site up to date.
Of course, council has used the tough language of the lawyer, but I will try this. I will say the following also, that it is not treacherous. We had to intervene. Initially in 2005, 06, 08, as I say, the road was in a terrible state of repair.
On the issue of transport on ferries, the Commission learnt that all ferries operating in Uganda are not insured.
Are they insured? Yes or no? It is very simple.
Third
party is different from comprehensive. You know that. So you tell me, on all your ferries, are passengers insured? They are not insured. Don't try to qualify it.
Well,
that seems to come very.
We are managing the
If we had been insured, you would have told me yes. If you can't give me a yes that is confident, it means you're not insured. You are the mechanical manager of all these ferries and everything else, and all the vehicles. And we have all these Ugandans flying your ferries every day, unsuspicious, confident that if something went wrong, they're insured. Please, Engineer, continue.
The findings of the investigations are to be handed over to the President by the Commissioners. Sudat Kaye, UBC News.